everyone, how's it going? My name is Liz Yang, and welcome to Crypto Builders of New York, a show that shines a spotlight on crypto founders, builders, and visionaries, right here in New York City, the crypto capital of the world. Today, I'm joined by Jelena, co-founder and CEO of Noble, a stablecoin issuance platform that has facilitated $8 billion worth of transaction volume across 50 chains to date.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz. It's a pleasure to be here for the inaugural episode.
Before diving more into Noble, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So I know you're from Toronto. You're now living in New York. You've lived in San Francisco. And so I'd love for you to rank these three cities in terms of best people, best crypto scene, and best quality of life.
So I'll just preface this by saying I've been pretty red-pilled on New York City since moving here only 4 months ago. So basically, I would say New York for everything but standard of living. I would still say, or quality of life, I would still say Toronto probably is number one. Basically, the kind of schooling infrastructure, the relative affordability, the even relative safety. I think Toronto definitely wins. But yeah, good people by far New York. So, and then I guess San Francisco doesn't make the cut for any of those categories.
R.I.P. San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so do you personally think that New York City is the crypto capital of the world?
1,000%. I mean, if you look at everything that's happened kind of politically in the last few months, if you look at how legitimated things like stablecoins have become in the mainstream within TradFi, New York, I think, wins. Obviously, it's the heart of global finance, but we also have many blue chip, reputable crypto projects that have their kind of headquarters here. Any given night, you have to kind of pick your battles on what events to attend or meetups because there's something happening all the time. So I think the energy coupled with just enthusiasm for the sector from the mainstream kind of TradFi world, coupled with the fact that we have amazing builders here, means that, in my opinion, New York City is definitely the global capital right now for crypto. Historically, that's been San Francisco, even Dubai, maybe parts of Asia like Hong Kong, but I would say New York takes the cake right now.
Definitely. I think it's a combination of New York being a financial capital, but also a social hub, right?
Yeah.
So people want to do things. I was talking with this VC and she was like, I go to 7 events a week. I was like, that's one for every day of the week,
Yeah.
which is absolutely crazy.
No surprise.
So Jelena, you being in the stablecoin space, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the recent Circle IPO. Obviously, hugely groundbreaking, alongside Coinbase recently getting added to the S&P 500. Now with Circle being the second most important crypto IPO in the history of our industry, what are your thoughts, especially since Circle is one of your partners?
Yeah, I mean, we are thrilled that people are the kind of mainstream retail investor audience is understanding the power behind stablecoin technology. Obviously, the Circle IPO vastly huge success, right? Oversubscription by 25x. The stock itself is on the up and up. It almost looks like a crypto chart that's super super bullish for Circle. And I think for us, we are just grateful that it is now a category that people are interested to invest in, right? The stablecoin business. I think with Coinbase, obviously the category was centralized exchanges and their kind of suite of associated products like custody. But I think now with stablecoins, you're going to see probably more IPOs in the crypto space as a result, maybe stablecoin specific companies, maybe stablecoin adjacent companies, and just generally kind of more enthusiasm. So it's definitely the right time and moment for these things to be happening. And I think the fact that Circle exceeded everyone's expectations is a very positive sign.
For sure. I think some of the recent tailwinds in the industry are, of course, because of the very favorable regulatory environment that we have. I actually read something really interesting recently that in 1977, Cambridge, Massachusetts passed some laws that made it very clear around the use of genetic material. And that's why the greater Boston area is such a hub for biotech today. And so how do you see the current regulatory landscape for stablecoins and beyond in the United States, and how does that impact your business?
Yeah, so there's two very important things happening kind of on the legislative front. One is, of course, the Genius Act, which strictly defines stablecoins as payments instruments and also creates standards around things like collateral, which is very important for any kind of centralized issuer. The other piece is like the market structure bill, which is a lot more relevant around kind of DeFi. But basically, I mean, if you look at like just general like signaling, we've had pro stablecoin messaging ever since Trump pretty much took office. Like on day one, he had a couple executive orders that were related to stablecoins and stablecoin innovation. So hopefully the Genius Act will pass soon. And I think if that happens, the U.S. like kind of on a macro level will definitely be leading like the innovation around stablecoins. I will say that there's been a reactionary element with other jurisdictions that are now getting smarter and wanting pro stablecoin legislation in their jurisdictions. Places like Korea kind of come to mind. And so I think generally it's very positive, I think, not just for US dollar stablecoins, but hopefully for other jurisdictions as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what's it like being a crypto founder in New York City, especially in the stablecoin space?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very important decision, I would say, in the life cycle of like Noble's journey. We started, of course, Noble in Toronto. Myself and my co-founder, we had a big debate around where would we incorporate the business, the parent company, and eventually we decided on the U.S. So, you know, Noble, of course, is a U.S. company, but of course we were running the business from Toronto. And I would say a few things happened to make us very certain that, like, me kind of relocating to New York was the right decision. One, I will be honest, is the political reality. You know, we can talk about that a little bit later. But honestly, having a pro-crypto administration and honestly an administration that, like, really understands, like, stablecoins and why they're so powerful for the U.S. economy, as well, I think just made it very clear I had to be here. And then, of course, New York City is like the financial capital of the world. So on the one hand, you have like pro-crypto, pro-stablecoin kind of political developments. And then you have just the existing financial kind of, you know, reality in New York City as the capital, as the world's capital in that regard. So right timing, right, on many levels.
Yeah, I was actually just at the inaugural crypto summit in New York, and which was held at the mayoral mansion.
Yeah.
And this will resonate with you since, you know, we've both been in crypto for almost 10 years now. But when I first started working in crypto, my parents were like, "Is this a real industry?"
Yeah,
I mean, they were very concerned.
Even when we were both working together in 2018 era, I would say there was a lot of speculation, a lot of, you know, feelings that this isn't real or this is like a bubble. And then, yeah, as you said, like many years later, you're with the New York City mayor, like kind of celebrating all that crypto has done for the city, for the U.S. in general. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely feels a little surreal being here, but it's the right decision. And I definitely feel like a little bit of a immigrant, let's say, because I'm not from here, right? So kind of being a Canadian transplant in the U.S., it's all very new to me in a lot of ways, actually.
Yeah,
even though I did live in San Francisco before, and
for sure. But there is something special about New York City, I think, even if you've lived in other places in the U.S.
Yeah.
And to that end, do you have like a quintessential crypto founder moment in New York?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I've been here like only 4 months, so I'm still fresh. But one of the moments that stand out to me was a couple of months ago. Circle, obviously, our partners on the stablecoin issuance side for Noble, they had their grand opening party at the World Trade Center. So they actually occupied the one of the top floors of the World Trade Center for their office.
Wow.
So the entire floor is theirs. It's a very symbolic, I think, move for them to kind of, you know, occupy this space, right? Like in the World Trade Center, obviously. in the heart of it all. And so I was there for their opening party, and I got to meet like Anthony Scaramucci and a bunch of executives kind of in the TradFi space. And yeah, I just felt like, one, you're like overseeing the entire city. Like it's a very impressive and awe-inspiring view. And then, of course, kind of seeing such like legends like in the space and meeting them was pretty cool. So yeah, I would say that that's like one of the quintessential moments.
That's super
already
awesome.
There's been like a few, but that stands out to me. Yeah.
Actually, speaking of Circle, I think something that's really interesting about stablecoins as a use case for crypto is that it's been known for years that there are structural flaws within payments with the traditional finance system, right? And with Circle's IPO, it kind of harkens this new era for not only stablecoins, but crypto adoption in the US. And I'd actually love to hear your thoughts, especially as a close partner to Circle.
Yeah. So, I mean, stablecoins have been around for 10 years at this point, right? Or maybe just a little bit above. We had Tether launch back in 2013, 2014. Circle's USDC only came out in 2019. So it's actually only been like about 5-6 years that you've seen that exponential growth kind of on their side. But the thing that people, I think, are starting to realize is these are ways of creating sustainable business models that maybe we haven't seen in crypto to date, unless you're on the centralized exchange side, right? So I would say on like the centralized exchange side, on the custodian side, like those are kind of proven kind of business models, right? That's where you see a lot of kind of retail demand, a lot of revenue. But stablecoins as a product have also proven to be these incredible businesses. So while conceptually we've had stablecoins for many years, I would say really in the last like 5 to 6 years, they've grown again as a viable business. So, I mean, if you take a step back, like I think USDC's market cap in early 2020 was something like 400 million, right? And now it's like over 60 billion in like
oh my God.
5.5 years or so. So I think when you like put it into perspective, it's pretty striking. Another kind of good, data point is right now I believe the total stablecoin market is something around 250 billion. Obviously, with Tether kind of being the largest issuer, Circle being the second largest issuer, and then kind of smaller market cap coins from there. But basically, there's a lot of interesting forecasts from very reputable sources like Citibank or ARK Invest or other kind of TradFi players that suggest in the next 5 years, so up till 2030, we might be at $2 trillion market for the stablecoin space. So yes, I think, as you mentioned, stablecoins are a fundamental paradigm shift around like payments and, sending money globally. But more than that, they are proving to be viable businesses for all sorts of players, whether that's on the legacy kind of traditional banking side or, of course, for crypto native companies like Noble.
For sure. I actually read something really interesting where the largest payment flows that happen internationally are business to business.
Yeah.
And if you're a small business and if you have 100 employees and you're paying people internationally, you could spend like $200,000 a year, basically just in fees, which is absolutely absurd. So for those who think that there really isn't a use case for crypto, I think this really, really proves them wrong.
Yeah, and I think like that's exactly right. I believe 80% or so of the payments market is B2B, not B2C. There's other interesting data points with like the credit card companies, right? And like how much retailers like Walmart, Starbucks, to your mom and pop shop have to pay to these credit card companies, right? Something like 2 to 3% of the fees. Like when you use your credit card to pay for goods, that fee is actually charged to the retailer, not to you, right? But by extension, they have to mark up goods to kind of cover those costs. And so it's really an adversarial relationship, I would say, between the retailers and the credit card companies versus stablecoins that can literally get rid of all of those fees. Theoretically. So yeah, I mean, there's so many applications for stablecoins. And obviously we had Circle's IPO yesterday, which is just astounding to see the success and the real validation that stablecoins are becoming mainstream. Like I think what Coinbase did in 2021 with their IPO, kind of validating like crypto and DeFi and centralized exchanges, on a kind of mainstream level, Circle is now doing but for the stablecoin space.
It's just actually mind-boggling for me, having been in the space for a number of years, that we've gotten to where we are today. And so zooming in closer on Noble, I heard that, the origin story of Noble actually encompasses the fall of Terra, and I'd love to hear, your story around that.
Yeah, it's also amazing to consider how far we've come when we had such a cataclysmic event like Terra happen just 3 years ago, actually.
Oh my God.
And also that FTX followed that collapse, which followed Celsius, which was a domino effect of just disaster after disaster. But Terra really, started that domino effect, if you can put it that way. So yeah, I mean, Noble and myself, we of course have our origins and DNA in the Cosmos ecosystem. So basically, back in 2022. I was working within the Cosmos ecosystem, kind of on like the core protocol side of things around go-to-market and product and marketing and things like this. I was actually like living at that time for a brief period of time in LA, paying my rent in UST. Like literally, I was paying my rent in the stablecoin that I thought would be stable. And of course, it just collapsed. What literally death spiral to zero, right? And that was a $40 billion market cap asset. And so when that happened, we were very distraught, because that actually meant the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole was severely impacted, because Terra was actually a Cosmos project. And so we thought, okay, how do we rebuild out of this mess? How do we bring legitimacy back to Cosmos? How do we actually start working with the reputable players like Circle that are blue chip, that are proven to be regulated, trustworthy actors? And so, yeah, that's really when we set out to basically bring native USDC to Cosmos. So that's like our origin story, right? Direct response to Terra, that entire, disaster and, kind of awakening moment. And I would say like those principles around like trust, reliability, stability, legitimacy, working with like blue chip entities has like gotten us to where we are today, and making sure we're like reliable partners for these sorts of companies. So yeah, that was basically the origin story, which maybe some people don't realize because we've obviously grown so much since then.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think under the hood, from just a crypto info perspective, I hadn't realized how fragmented the stablecoin space was with Cosmos and the IBC ecosystems, because of this idea of chain sovereignty. Cosmos and IBC, they really pioneered this idea of app chains, which are so prevalent today in the ecosystem of Ethereum with L2s and L3s and beyond.
Yeah.
But I read that at one point in the Cosmos and IBC ecosystems, there were like 100 non-fungible versions of stablecoins. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, something like that. Definitely a few dozen. So obviously, Cosmos, as you mentioned, pioneered and started this wave of kind of sovereignty and sovereign app chains and owning your block space and things like this. And we saw the issues around that thesis, like in a kind of meaningful way, like they're early on, right? And one of those issues is fungibility, as you mentioned. So basically this idea that without a canonical asset representation and like a multitude of custodial bridges, you have this like crazy UX problem where technically that same asset, let's say it's a USDC, can have like 100 different representations and therefore cannot be exchanged with one another and therefore are not fungible. And if like that just is not okay, right? Like we can't bring crypto to the mainstream in that framework at all. Like people are not going to be sitting there like with their ledger or like in their wallet trying to figure out like how to unwrap or like their assets to find the canonical version. So basically we designed Noble to address that. A very minimalistic, very purpose-built chain that would maintain kind of fungibility of native USDC across 50 plus sovereign networks. And of course with IBC as like the interoperability kind of routing mechanism. And it's amazing that even now, I mean, it's gotten a lot better with like chain abstraction tooling, with, general kind of people getting smarter around this problem, like within the Ethereum space. So I would say it's still actually a challenge, like this like fungibility concern, and but it's gotten better. And I would like to say that Noble really kind of kicked off this like discussion and this like work around the stablecoin kind of product to, again, like make it easy for people to use these stablecoins in a very kind of native way without having to like use custodial middlemen. So yeah, it was definitely a journey to kind of do that and achieve that goal, but it's gotten us to where we are today. So, and yeah, we grew native USDC to over $500 million in total issuance. So we're somewhere around like the fifth, sixth largest protocol with native USDC. And of course, that resulted in many billions of dollars of transaction volume. And it just helped a bunch of development teams like be able to focus on what they're good at, which is like the product, the app, not necessarily like the stablecoin issuance problem, which was a big problem for a lot of the teams.
Definitely. This is a very concrete example of actual crypto infrastructure that has a real world that enables real world use cases, which is why I find what you do so valuable for the space. And so I'd love to hear more about the Circle partnership. So from my understanding, with the collapse of Terra as being the dominant stablecoin and the Cosmos ecosystem, and the fact that at the time DYDX was going to launch their own IBC app chain, there was this real need for a native stablecoin to the Cosmos ecosystem. So talk to me about how Noble came about with the Circle partnership.
Yeah, so we basically sat down at a whiteboard and we said, okay, if you have this like problem, which is like, how do we bring native USDC to Cosmos? And there are the realities of Cosmos and kind of like the architecture of the Cosmos SDK and IBC. What is the best way to do that, right? We had like a couple ideas, right? Like the Noble design or the Noble model wasn't necessarily immediately obvious, but we kind of went back and forth on like the different like designs, and we eventually said, you know what, this asset issuance chain, basically at that time we called it a generic asset issuance chain, so we didn't have the name Noble or anything like this. We basically thought this is like the best way to bring native USDC to Cosmos, right? You have kind of this modular framework where you can mint, burn, permission authorities around USDC, and of course in the future other assets. And we created a kind of routing infrastructure to make it really easy for, like a DYDX or an Osmosis to actually mint this USDC for their particular use case and have it be immediately available to their users. So we pretty much went to Circle and we said, hey, like this is like the idea that we have. This is the design. What do you think? And I think they were just like very like happy that we were proactive in this entire process, and we kind of had a very legitimate, good framework that we kind of went to them with, that there wasn't like that much back and forth on like the fundamental design, but they definitely had some input. Basically they were like, yeah, this is how we plan to natively issue in Cosmos. And I mean, ever since then, it's been a very productive working relationship. And again, we're just like very like happy to be, just such a part of the story, I suppose. Yeah,
I think that's really interesting. And what I love about Noble is that you guys just have so much going on. Not only do you provide infrastructure for native stablecoin issuance, but you also recently launched something this year called USDN, which is your own stablecoin, the Noble Dollar. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear from you in terms of your view on the evolution of stablecoins from something like Circle to offering stablecoins that offer yield to now offering composable yields.
Yeah, definitely. So we, of course, since our day one, have been heavily invested in like the stablecoin space, right? And what's kind of occurred over the past number of years is a lot of actually like interesting innovation around the fundamental product, right? And when we decided to launch Noble Dollar, it was because the answer was readily available on like how we would do that. And that really stemmed from a partnership with a team called M0. So basically, we launched Noble Dollar as a product on top of the M0 stack. And as you mentioned, this product that we launched in our own unique way is something we're calling composable yield. But if I take a step back, what Noble Dollar is USDN is a dollar peg stablecoin. Yes, there is a yield component because, like the blue chip stablecoins in the market, they are collateralized by treasury bills. So it is a very safe, reliable asset that can hold the peg to the USD. And I mean, talking about our kind of trauma within the Terra ecosystem, we're very conservative around the design because for these stablecoins to become mainstream, like there has to be stability. There has to be, a legitimate way to collateralize these assets, and T-bills are just the gold standard here. So obviously USDN, unlike other stablecoins that are collateralized by T-bill, is a bit different because we do have this yield component. So that short-term treasury bill rate, which is around 4%, that can be passed on to end users. It can be used as revenue for protocols. It can really be composed in any way. And we made sure to kind of design that token with kind of developers and crypto protocols in mind. So there is a lot of customizability, a lot of programmability around that yield. And if you're a DeFi protocol, let's say we're working with a kind of a major kind of Bitcoin layer 1 project that has Bitcoin staking, you can technically take that USDN, you can start minting it on your protocol, and you can decide how to compose that 4% yield. Let's say you're actually, in this case, subsidizing Bitcoin stakers to make the Bitcoin staking rate a little bit more attractive, a little bit more competitive. You can actually take that, again, USDN yield, and you can use it as kind of incentives around trading. It really is up to the kind of distribution partner that decides to incorporate USDN. So we believe that like this composable nature, this like very kind of programmable nature of USDN, plus our kind of experience in building stablecoin issuance infrastructure, it'll kind of take off, I think, in a meaningful way with these protocols that decide to integrate with us. So we're calling this USDN everywhere, and that'll be launching in a couple of weeks. But yeah, for now, we've bootstrapped a bunch of liquidity of USDN in the past 3 months. There's about $100 million or so of TVL that we've bootstrapped.
So the TLDR of USDN offering composable yield is that not only do projects and protocols that leverage USDN get access to the deep liquidity of this stablecoin, but also there's yield that they can then pass on to their end user or whoever it is that they want to pass it on to.
Exactly. That's basically it. And that's exactly what we're calling composable yield. And the fact that USDN is very programmatic, it's very customizable, it's very crypto native, right? Like the way that we've created like the kind of issuance structure around USDN, it makes it very easy for any like DeFi application or wallet or app chain to basically have control over that underlying yield. Because at the end of the day, if you're, let's say, a lending application that is doing meaningful volumes in US dollar stablecoins, there is an opportunity cost, which is basically whatever revenue could be generated from that underlying T-bill collateral, you're kind of giving up. So for us, we think that this will actually also kick off some really interesting kind of products that maybe we don't have in the market, maybe even like less risky lending products. It could be very influential in like the perps side of things when it comes to things like kind of funding rates and just generally having a better experience for traders that do want that ability to go very long or very short some crypto asset. And so for us, we're excited to like be partners to other protocols that are looking to, of course, leverage USDN in a meaningful way. But also we have this app layer that we're shipping in the coming months where we're also ourselves looking to build kind of these meaningful use cases around USDN. So yeah, I mean, the stablecoin space is like never-ending, like it's fascination for us. But I think the next wave of like, adoption and kind of TVL growth will come around the actual use cases that drive the volume for the stablecoins, right? Whether that's payments, whether that's lending, whether that's DeFi. I mean, it's really a never-ending list of use cases that make sense for stablecoins.
For sure. So I saw your announcement around app layer. So you guys are partnering with Celestia to be able to create an EVM-compatible rollup.
Yeah.
So that developers can build and deploy their own app. And the best part is they can also leverage USDN.
Exactly. So kind of taking a step back for a second, when we started Noble and like the core like layer 1 on Cosmos, because we work with such important stakeholders, we wanted to make sure that the chain would be very minimalistic, very secure, very purpose-built. No smart contracts, right? There are no smart contracts on the Noble chain. We made sure that it was very reliable for its very specific use case, which is issuance. At the same time, that's limiting, right? If you're a project like Noble with like high ambitions and you want to, let's say, build the next killer lending app, you can't do that on the Noble layer 1. on Cosmos. And so that's when we decided to kind of explore the space around a separate execution environment, one that would be EVM at its core. And of course, we know the Celestia team very well. We believe in their vision. That is actually a very similar vision to the original Cosmos ethos around sovereignty, owning your block space, things like this. And so, yeah, we decided to ultimately kind of work on this EVM rollup, of course, leveraging Celestia data availability. And that is what we're calling the app layer. So I would definitely say the reason we're building this app layer is because we have specific use cases in mind. And we do believe that composable yield is a big part of that story. We didn't decide to just build another chain just like for the sake of it, right? Like there was a very key missing ingredient in our journey as a company. And yeah, basically that's something we're like working on and firing on all cylinders. So
that's really cool. Yeah. So just to summarize the journey of Noble, you guys found a very concrete problem space in the Cosmos and IBC ecosystems in the form of fragmented stablecoin liquidity and enabled the issuance of a native stablecoin with that ecosystem. And then you pioneered your own stablecoin, which offers composable yield. And now you're creating a rollup so that developers can build upon your chain because they couldn't do so with Noble because it doesn't enable smart contracts. And so how would you describe, the grand vision or roadmap of Noble today?
That is a perfect summarization of our journey so far. I would say the grand vision kind of is as follows. Like with every step that we've taken along our journey, we've been moving further up the stack to actually increasingly own that end user relationship, because we believe there's a lot of missing things in crypto. Like despite how well known we are as an industry, despite all the pro crypto kind of legislation and sentiment right now, there's still kind of missing pieces around incentive alignment, right, around like the stablecoin issuance space. We believe that crypto products in terms of UX and like safety are getting better, but we're still not really there yet where you can have a, let's say, crypto native neobank that can serve a global customer base, because there are still a lot of problems with the way that we ship crypto applications on like the risk side, on the UX side, on the, So basically Noble's mission is really to kind of verticalize everything from the protocol level. So basically like the deepest part, the lowest level of the stack, which is like consensus to interoperability to the issuance of these assets, and then going up the stack and saying, okay, now that we've like solved for these like fundamental problems, what are the interesting, again, like stablecoin centric applications we can build that are, again, like less speculative in nature, less risky, and that can leverage this composable yield element. And so, yeah, I mean, I think in 5 years, if we are successful, we might look like a crypto native neobank, right, that can service a global customer base. I think like the fintechs of tomorrow will have to be crypto native from day one. I think if you look at like the most successful fintechs today, like a Revolut, they unfortunately have to adhere to certain kind of guidelines in certain jurisdictions. And so that kind of maybe impedes their ability to kind of ship like really interesting kind of new financial primitives. But for us that are kind of crypto native, DeFi native, like you can imagine, again, a payments application that doesn't use custodial banks in the middle to send payments, right?
For sure.
Because we have stablecoins, because we have the ability to instantaneously send $1 for less than a cent to anyone in the world in the same way that you can send a text message to somebody anywhere in the world for a fraction of a penny. So yeah, I think we want to legitimize crypto to the mainstream by being crypto native.
Jelena, thank you so much for joining me today for the first episode of Crypto Builders of New York. Having known you for many years, it's no surprise to me all you've accomplished with Noble, and just wanted to give you your flowers. So I wanted to close things out with a quick lightning round of New York-themed questions.
I love it. Thank you so much, Liz.
Favorite subway line?
I would say the L, because I'm currently living in Brooklyn.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Williamsburg, and it takes me to Soho relatively efficiently, and that's where I'm working out of. So I would say the L because
That is a surprising answer. I don't think that's most people's favorite.
Okay, well, honestly, I'm also not an expert in the subway line, so maybe what's your favorite?
I like the 4-5. It's very efficient. I'm only dissing the L because I used to live like right by the L and I had to take it for work, and I spent like hundreds of dollars. Well, actually no, probably like a 4-figure sum, like just taking an Uber during the winter one winter because it was just like so painful to watch the L.
That's so
and have it be delayed.
That's so
to get to
funny.
work when I was working on Wall Street.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll experience that sooner rather than later, and then I'll change my answer.
All right. Favorite restaurant in New York?
I would say there's this incredible Serbian place on the
Kafana?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that place. We have to go.
We have to go. And I'm Serbian, and the owners are really awesome, and it's nostalgic for me, and they have live music on Fridays.
They still do that? Oh
yeah.
My God. I was doing that like 10 years ago when I was working on Wall Street. I had a lot of Balkan friends working when I was at Goldman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. What is your crypto startup founder guilty pleasure? Is it, like a really expensive Pilates class, like a really good oat milk cappuccino?
Honestly, it's Ubers. So speaking of
real
the challenges with like New York City public transit, it's taking an Uber to save like 20 minutes on my commute because, that's time that you would rather be in the office working than
100%
than trying to deal with public transit.
No, I totally get it.
But it adds up because it's so expensive here. So quite.
No, I don't even want to I don't even want to know how much I've spent on Ubers over the last couple of years. Favorite crypto company in New York?
Oh, there's so many good ones. I would say, Circle's up there, and they obviously just opened up their incredible office in the World Trade Center. I'm a big fan of what Polymarket is doing, and of course they're based here. I work out of an office in Soho, and in our building, like Uniswap is based there. DYDX also has their offices just down the street from where I work in Soho. So honestly, there's like too many to count, and these are all like products, businesses that like I admire or use it in one way or another. So yeah, I would say like there's a few, but
all of the above.
Yeah,
well, New York is the crypto capital of the world.
100%, and that's not changing. Yeah.
All right, last question. So for any builders or founders who are debating whether or not to move to New York, what would you say to them?
Do it. Don't think twice. I know there's like this kind of competition right now between like San Francisco and New York, and there's a bit of a renaissance in San Francisco. I believe like they kind of elected new city officials, so things are being cleaned up, which is great, and it's becoming like the capital for AI. But if you want to be in the thick of it, if you want kind of exposure and like alpha knowledge of like where the industry is going, whether that's like sentiment from like TradFi, whether that's just working with the projects that I mentioned, who are some of my favorites, like this is the place to be. And I think SF will continue to be like an AI hub, and I think New York City will continue to be a crypto hub for the foreseeable future. I mean, it's the heart of global finance. It is a pro-crypto environment politically and from a regulatory perspective. So there's like nowhere else, I think, that competes with that right now.
I completely agree. There's nowhere else like New York for crypto builders. So thank you, Jelena, so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to Crypto Builders of New York. I'm Liz Yang, and I'll see you next time.